Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. This is my YouTube 3.0 at this point. And I decided to go way low tech. Hopefully the resolution is okay. I'm not even bothering with proper lighting. Like literally the fewer barriers to entry for me at this point on YouTube, like the better, and that's what I'm going for. Um, just hope that I don't regret this when I look back. One of my customers was like, "Hey, I'm watching you on my TV right now." I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I'm only meant for viewing on like a phone. This is not meant for viewing on large screens." Because I don't know what it looks like. This is just, yeah, recording off my phone, which is like a few years old now. Anyways, this is a continuation of an Instagram story that I'd started, but then I realized this is probably YouTube content. So I was talking about some of the updates and upgrades, and oh yeah, you get a little view of my lab here too. Sitting at my desk, which is why the light is bad. Normally I stand over there, but then the background is just a door. So I was talking about some of the updates and upgrading that I've been doing. Since summer is really my downtime, it gives me a lot of time to work on my website, like develop new, I guess, like programs. So in this case, I now have a rewards program called Glow Gains on my website, which is, like your standard points type program. And I have imported all of my existing customers into the program. So if you are a customer of mine and if you've accepted newsletters, then you will have an account. Most people actually had all their purchases, so like the points that they would have accumulated over the years. Mostly people have had them all transferred into the account, but for some reason, like the uploading didn't work perfectly. Didn't want to do it twice because I didn't want to like overwrite things. So I'm also manually adjusting these, uh, um, what do you call them? Like accounts as people are making them. So if you are one of my repeat customers and you go to create an account and you're like, oh, I have 0 points, just make sure you're using the email that you generally use for purchases, especially with Stark. So go into your old invoices just to make sure that you are the same person because I can't just match names, it's by email. And if you're getting 0 points, I will adjust it. And if I don't, just let me know. So that's new. And also, I think a really good deal on it is the refer a friend component of it. So basically, when you refer your friends, you get all of the points that they earn for whatever purchase for their first two purchases. Like they got a discount on their purchases, but then you earn all their points. They can also earn their points if they make an account with Glow Gains. But yeah, so you earn all of their points. You get points for purchases. You get points for doing things like follow me on Instagram, and I'll probably add a few more things as time goes on. I just kind of like put it together last week. It's not perfect. It was like a little bit more involved than I thought it was going to be, but it's totally fine. It's just, I'm like constantly fiddling with it. So yeah, that's that. And then I'm thinking of also starting up subscriptions, and you would also earn points on subscriptions. So right now you can earn points, on everything that you buy from me, but it's only redeemable for Stark purchases. So purchases of like Stark products themselves. So that's new and that's exciting. And then another thing that I've been working on quite a bit lately, besides my website, which by the way has a few new pages and things right now, a new ingredients glossary, which I'm still working on, and trying to beef up my blog again. So all that is there. But besides that, I'm doing lots of product development as always, which is like my absolute love. I like have to stop myself from constantly like creating new stuff. Like I have too many ideas for products. This is like a constant problem for me. So I always have so many ideas, and it's really hard for me to narrow down which ones I should actually concentrate on. But what I try to do before releasing new products is I always try to look at what I already have and think about how I can improve on what I have, because it can always be improved. That's the thing about the art and science of cosmetics, is that it's never really done. you know you can have it done enough for it to be a really good product that sells, but in I don't know, in my mind, it can always be redeveloped. It can always improve. It can always be more niche down or broader. There's always, of course, new ingredients to introduce, new ways of combining things. So every few years, of course, I look at my formulas. I think of all the feedback I've gotten on it. I think about more so what people love about the product than any complaints, because I don't get a ton of negative feedback, for better or worse, but I do get, positive feedback. And so I always think about what I love about the products, what my customers love about the products, and then how I can make that even better. That's how, 2+ years ago now, when I reformulated City and Midnight, I thought about all the things that everyone in the world loves about City and Midnight, and so I played up those elements more, and thought about what their function is and what I want them to accomplish for people, and I made them stronger and better. So whenever small brands reformulate, it's not like when larger brands reformulate. I think a lot of customers get really nervous about reformulations because they almost always think that it's going to be bad. It's going to be worse, that they love this thing and it's just changing and they're not okay with that. And every time I reformulate, I encounter this, and it takes a long time for people to come around to not everyone, but it takes some people a long time to come around to accepting the new formulas. And so for me, it can sometimes make it really hard to move forward, because when I get the idea that I need to change something or improve something, like, I have to do it. When I decided that I didn't want Everlasting to be like a runny essence anymore, and I wanted to be more of a gel, I started making my batches a little bit more gel, 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 to just kind of like amp it up, and to get people used to the idea. And what I'm hearing a lot from people is that at first they were like, oh, I was like all about the essence and didn't want anything to do with the gel, but then, finally tried it, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, actually really prefer the gel. It's so much easier to use, and it's not sticky, and it functions better. I always try to make my things function better. So in the case of Everlasting, if you find the only negative that I got about the gel is that it doesn't absorb as fast and it can be sticky. That usually depends on what kind of climate you live in. So if that's the case with you, and maybe also with other gel serums, possibility, totally depending on what we're talking about though. But with mine, if you apply it to damp skin, that's really, really, really going to change the way that it feels on your skin, and you shouldn't be getting any stickiness at all. The gums, like the rheology modifiers that I use in it, are non-sticky specifically. It also depends on what you're layering with it. If you're layering it with a lot of stuff that has a lot of humectants in it, or specifically glycerin and probably hyaluronic acid, which is not my favorite humectant, although I do use it in my lip mask, but that's actually for the plumping effect, not for the humectant effect. It's to give you like a short-term, like, plumper lip look. But with Everlasting, that products like that might make it feel a little bit stickier. So it sort of depends on how you layer it. But if you're layering it, like, for example, Everlasting is meant to be layered with City and with Midnight really, really nicely. So if you're pairing it with that, there should be no problem. And also with like an SPF over top, perfect with makeup, no pilling, no stickiness. So yeah, so all that to say that I think that sometimes people are really afraid of reformulations, but when it's from a small brand and when it's from a person who is like super passionate about their brand and has been for over a decade, such as me, I don't reformulate things to make them crappier. like zero like 0% chance. I know people become creatures of habit and they get really used to the way things are, but I've decided that I can't cater to that anymore. I can't, because it just stifles my creativity and it stops my brand from becoming better, from my products from becoming better. And I don't want to just have like, oh, here's like here's the old school way that I used to formulate. This is what these oils are like, but then these are like my oils 2.0, and I end up with like 5 oils in my range. Like I don't want 5 oils, I want like 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 max, but I don't want like a whole, you know, like a giant selection of oils, because every time that I feel like formulating something in a new way or introducing new ingredients, even though 2 things might have really, really similar effects, but one is the old version basically, and one is like a new version, I don't want to have like the 2, and just, because I see a lot of the indie brands that just have so many products, and a lot of the ones that like don't exist anymore. And sometimes I wonder, like, is it just because they had so many choices that were so similar? I don't know. Is that one reason why they couldn't last? Because that's not super sustainable, in a lot of ways. So I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do that. So when I reformulate, like I said, Midnight and City, I did that 2 years ago. City is like, has always been an antioxidant rich, light yet juicy oil made for oilier skin types, but it's meant to be like a city protective type oil. I took that up a notch whenever I reformulated it. The same thing with Midnight. Midnight is meant to be an oily nighttime serum. It's very restorative. It definitely leaves like a bit more of a film on your face, to just really like stay on kind of thing. It's meant for drier skin, more mature skin types. And then whenever I reformulated Midnight, I took that up a notch. And by the way, Midnight is in the Myron bottles now. Just because my beloved old amber pump bottles, not old, but amber pump bottles were just like not consistently working, and small companies don't have a ton of options when it comes to buying packaging and not massive amounts. I don't really want to buy like 5,000 bottles of one type. Just a few hundred, like several hundred is like my max, really, like I hate when I have to buy anything over 700 units. Like then I'm just like, God, where do I put it? It's a lot, it's a big commitment. So that's like my max of how many things of like one thing I want to buy, right? So Myron is used a lot in indie beauty because they're beautiful bottles, really luxurious. The black glass really does help maintain the product freshness, but consistently the packaging works really, really well, and you don't have to get huge quantities. So that's why you see it a lot in indie brands. So I'm gonna say, and I haven't like put this on my website yet, and I should make a note to put this on my website. I will be having a bottle trade-in program of some sort. I haven't thought through all the details, but if you're buying my products and you're getting things in the Myron bottles, right now it's just Midnight and Deep Midnight, but soon Everlasting is going to be in that bottle, as well as City. So keep those bottles because I will have some sort of a trade-in program for them, but not the lids, just the bottles. So, all that to say that Petrichor right now is the one that's like on the chopping block. I'm super excited with how Petrichor is developing. If you're a petrichor fan, please don't fear. It's going to knock your socks off. It's so much better than the past two versions. I think I'm on version 3 now. I mean, you have to, maybe 4. You have to remember my company is now 12 years old. So like to have the same formulas as I did 12 years ago would just be embarrassing at this point because I'm a better formulator. Ingredients have changed so much. Some things disappear, which is true in the green beauty world. A lot of natural ingredients tend to disappear, or the prices go way, way, way up, or the quality really, really changes. But I've been embracing more and more of the, I don't know, I call them like lab ingredients. So things that are often naturally derived or, come from plants, but then are processed in a lab. And most of the time, or at least in the case of the ingredients that I try to choose, are products that are really sustainable. They're much better than using like a whole plant alternative, because you need a lot less to get a lot more potency. And oftentimes they're using these natural processes that are often inspired by nature, such as using certain yeasts, so like in a fermentation process to make one thing into another thing. And so it's really sustainable, and there's no like wild crafting involved or anything like that, which is like, I hate that. I hate wild crafting in all the industries. I think if you go out and do that and you make your own like salad or whatever, that's something that you well crafted, but you're not like selling it. That's one thing. But I think that any brand that anyways, I won't get into that now, but I'm just, all that to say that I more and more, there's more like upcycled ingredients now, ingredients that come from different industries where they're able to take materials that would otherwise be waste materials and create something else that can be used in the cosmetics industry. I think that is amazing and just like the most beautiful development that I've seen in this industry. So whether or not that still makes me green beauty anymore because I'm not like 100% like whole plant, I don't know, but I don't care because I know that it's better ingredients, better quality, and so effective, and really like good, better for the environment. So that ticks all the boxes for me. So petrichor is definitely different, but it's still gonna have all the things about it that you probably love. So really, really good for oily, acneic type skin. Excellent as like a morning mist before you head out into the world and before you put on your sunscreen. So one of the cool things about petrichor that has been in the past couple of versions is that it contains something called ferulic acid, which comes from rice bran. And ferulic acid is like a super antioxidant that is like one of the main defenses against some of the worst of the free radicals, super demissutative, I don't remember what they're called, but like has been studied really well to and shown to combat like certain of those some of the worst of the free radicals. So great, but also it works better in the presence of UV rays. So it's really good to add to your like along with SPF. So that's kind of awesome. So that's staying the same, but I did have some problems in my previous, or like in like my current version of petrichor with the solubility of some of my ingredients. And when I was testing that version, it never was an issue with my smaller batches. But then as I started to like do bigger batches, something wasn't going right. Things weren't like solubilizing. Stuff was like falling out of solution a lot, and things were like gelling up together in weird ways. It kind of became a mess. So I made one last small version of petrichor where I was able to kind of like control some of those issues, which is for sale and actually on sale right now. Which, so like I feel like this last version is fine, like it's okay, but I'm like not happy with the formula. So I took it back to the drawing board, kept all of the important elements like the ferulic acid. It's gonna have the same scent. It's gonna feel as someone once described it as being effervescent, sort of, just like very refreshing on the skin. It's still gonna feel refreshing. It still has a good amount of humectants, so you do get it's very why can I never remember moisturizing? Hydrating. It's still gonna feel hydrating, and I really want it to be like a one and done type product for people who are like too lazy to like do a full skincare routine. Like if someone washes their face, mists with petrichor and puts on some sunscreen, like I'd be happy. As just like a really like basic routine, you know? But it also works really well for those of us who want a bit more of an involved type of routine. But yeah, so it's gonna be, I don't know how much I want to say about like what it's, but it's definitely like being elevated. It's going up a notch for sure, for sure. It is a liquid serum, one and done. You put it on in the morning. You can give yourself a couple of mists throughout the day to like top it up. But yeah, so that's going to be Petrichor 2.0. So I hope that that is enough to say that, like, it's like suffice to say that it's it's getting better, not worse. Better. I would never reformulate to make something worse, you know? Like I think that could just summarize this entire video. I would never reformulate something to make it worse. Doesn't make sense as a small brand. The lighting is really weird and I apologize. I also don't know where to look as usual. So that's kind of what I've been working on. So before I create new products, which is, I have so many ideas for new products. Like there's one sitting right, oh, you can't see it. Right? No, it's on that side. Right? Well, anyways, there's so much new stuff. Some things are even named. Some things I even know what the design is, like of the outer label. Like that's how far it can get into my brain. But I don't want to release new things until I know what I have is the best version that it can be, at least for the next 2 years. um, so yeah, don't fear the changes when it's small brands. I can't speak for everyone, but at least for Stark, I know that it's never to cut corners. It's never to get a cheaper ingredient in there. There's ways of shuffling things around so that things can stay the same price. Well, these days though, I mean, I did put up my prices in 2020 or 2021. But, you know, with my new reward system, like there's always ways to find a discount on Stark. Between you and me, and if you've watched all 23 minutes of this, then you got that little insider info. But yeah, like probably the best thing about supporting indie beauty is that we just don't cut corners. It just doesn't exist when you're small and have no reason to cut corners. I have no reason to cut corners. And on that note, I'm gonna have some lunch and I'm going to tinker in the lab. Bye! Thanks for joining me. Oh yeah, my name is Jess and I am the founder of Stark Skincare. Yay, bye.